Hi, this is Sarah Mikesell with the Poultry site, and today we're here with Carlos Bautista. He is the key account manager for Latin America. Thanks for being with us today, Carlos.
No, thank you for having me on today, Sarah. Pleasure to be here.
Great, thank you. And today, Carlos and I are at the 2026 IPPE in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's a chilly start to IPPE, we have to say, right?
It is a very cold start, yes.
But despite the weather that we've had, the show's been pretty busy. Have you guys had a good show?
Yeah, the show's been pretty busy. We kicked off with some delays. Everybody arrived
Right.
later. The storm was hectic. But overall, very good turnout at our booth. Day one, day two has been pretty busy with customers from all over the globe, US, Canada, Europe, Asia, and specifically Latin America.
I was going to say this is a big show for Latin America, and a lot of people I don't think realize that there's a big contingency that comes up, and we'll start there. Can you give us an update on Targan's presence in Latin America, Carlos?
Yeah, of course. So again, TARGAN, first of all, we have the wing scan system, which is an automated feather sexing system. Specifically at this moment for broilers, we are looking into layers. But overall, over the last 3 years, we've been focused on the US, Canada, Europe.
Right.
And now over the last 6 months, we've been actively working the region, working with producers, integrators across from Mexico all the way down to Brazil. And I'm happy to say, in the last 6 months, we've been able to secure customers across the region, from Mexico to Colombia to Peru, and hopefully the rest of Latin America, and eventually moving into Central America. So it's a very big market. They're already sexing. So for us, the value that we're bringing there, it's really addressing the scarcity of labor, the accessibility to labor, the rising cost of labor, and really the uncertainties around legislation, reduction in hours, and increasing costs.
Very good. And my next question is about pain points, which you just started to talk about here. And how do you see Targan addressing these? So we'll let you expand a little bit more on the topics that you just mentioned, because labor is certainly an issue everywhere, right?
Of course, labor is an issue not just in Latin America, it's an issue in North America, Asia, Europe. In some regions, labor is a bit inexpensive. In Latin America, automating sex or automated sexing, it's a little bit more expensive than the manual process itself. But again, the scarcity of it, a lot of these hatcheries have crews of 10, 20, 30 people working, and a lot of these groups are getting older. The younger generation doesn't want to be in the hatchery, doesn't want to stand 10 hours a day, and also it's causing injuries to the people sexing. Standing 10 hours straight,
Right.
sexing manually, that's injuries to the wrist, that's back pain. But also, we've seen inefficiencies with sexing itself, manual process of sexing. Typically your sexter has around 95% accuracy. The beginning of the day, once you start,
Right.
getting into it, you have lunch, and
Right.
that's me at the office as well. Having lunch, you kind of slow down for the rest of the day, and you can't do that in a hatchery operation. You have to have consistent accuracy, fast accuracy, and that's where really our automated solutions are really resolving that. But yeah, overall, great success. A lot of pain points, and some things that I would like to call out would be Mexico. They're reducing hours from, I believe, 48 to 42 hours. So again, that's impacting production time. So again, it's eliminating one day of production that they had previously, and then sexing is the solution to that. Another drastic example would be Colombia. They're going from 48, I believe, to also in the low 40s, removing a day of production, but also, a few days ago, or a few weeks ago, the Colombian government woke up and increased costs about 23.7%. That's increasing salaries. Whether that stays, it's yet to be seen. But again, we're removing all of the unknowns and the inconsistencies, and not just the manual process, but everything, revolving automated sex or sexing in general.
Very good. And what are some of those other pain points? You mentioned a couple other things as well.
Yeah, so other pain points that we see in the industry, it's really, again, we've talked about the scarcity of labor, the cost of labor, but I believe the most important pain point to producers is really on the animal welfare side. So right now, the manual process, and I'm sure you've been into a hatchery and seen the process, but you sex them manually and they're being tossed left, right,
Right.
male and female. It's really not the most animal welfare friendly way to sex the birds. And our systems completely eliminate and
Right.
the need to really manipulate the bird at all. And with that reduction in manipulation, it's better animal welfare. But what we've seen as I guess, a downstream effect is by eliminating the manipulation of the bird, we're seeing reduction in mortality at the farm. You're eliminating the drops, you're eliminating the handling, the bird can now access feed, water, get to the farm faster, and that performance increases over time. So again, the biggest pain point, again, is an additional value add, but that's the pain point, the making sure that the animals are being treated well, and again, with that better treatment comes better efficiency with our systems as well.
And Wingscan is amazing to watch.
So yeah, it's a pretty amazing piece of technology, so credits to our engineering team.
Yeah, and it's, as you said, it's the welfare angle as well. It reduces stress, it seems like, in the birds, right? Because they're not being handled as much.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, the reduction of that manipulation, compared to vent sexing, you're exposing the birds, so that's, an invasive process. In novo sexing, it's also an invasive process. For broiler sexing, really wing scan or automated sexing, in this case feather sexing, is the right solution. The speed, the accuracy, and it's less invasive than the other methods available in the market.
Good. Well, thanks for all the information and best wishes in Latin America. I know you're tackling that whole region, so that's exciting news.
No, thank you. Happy to be on.
Very good. This is Sarah Mikesell with the Poultry site.